Welcome to the Be the Glitter podcast, where we discuss off topics with giggles and spread inspiration like glitter, like inspiration that sticks. So, welcome, Gregg Potter. I am so excited that you're here.
Thank you, Laura. Oh my God, you in all your glory with your cute vest and your beautiful lipstick. And oh my gosh, I'm just here for all of it. And me,
Well, I
it's all
love your
casual
brand
Friday.
color behind you too. Like you're all owning your
Makes
brand.
my eyes pop.
So could you please introduce yourself?
Of course. As you said, I'm Gregg Potter. I am the founder and the executive director of the International Institute on Collaboration. While we just launched last January of 2024, but in the meantime, I'm still working as a collaboration coach, working with teams, facilitating large groups in how do we design and lead collaborations that are more effective and more impactful. So, and getting behind one common objective to do one collaboration at a time. And so we have, with the Institute, we have a framework, we have an assessment, collaborative intelligence assessment, and then we mix those two with coaching that really brings a holistic feel to everything.
Awesome.
And,
So,
and I guess there's a little bit more. I'm not only that, I am from Wisconsin. I lived in LA. I went to my undergrad at University of Nevada, Las Vegas for theater performance. I have my master's from the Clinton School of Public Service in Arkansas. I live in Cape Town part-time, and then the other part-time is, the rest of the time is here in Madison. Yeah, I love to travel. I love community, and I'm a connector at my soul. So that's a
and a
more,
social change advocate.
yes.
Yeah. I loved your social change forum that you had and the people that you collected to present there and just how you put that whole thing together. You were thinking about everything, like how we all learn differently. Some people need to have something to play with in their hands. We need to hear things, see things. Like you had a very immersive, inclusive space with good representation and diversity, both participants and presenters as well.
Thank you. It is one of my superpowers to create space. So, and that's often the seller why people bring me in to work with them.
I
Well,
love
thank you
that.
for the compliment. That's very nice.
And how did you even come up with your collaboration coaching and your institute?
I'll try to give the most concise story because the story really starts when I left Little Rock after graduate school in 2014. And I got hired by an international nonprofit to run programming in Central America, in mostly in Southern Africa, but in part-time in Central America as well. But it wasn't a full-time gig. And so I was back in Madison trying to figure out, and I've always been really good at events and project management. And I started an event company with a brand that I had already had called Project Connect. And we did events and campaigns, mostly consulting, but also event management. That went on for a while, and we got into the pandemic when both international travel and events stopped. And I sat and I was like, okay, what's really going on here? Like, what am I not seeing? So I had to sit, ask the question of what I don't know, and got objective with it and realized what was really happening was that I was working with my clients. My team was doing the work, the logistics, but I was actually coaching my clients on how to work together for these events that we were running. And I sat in that, and parallel to that, when I used to be on the board of directors for a national conference called Impact. I had brought up a new workshop on collaboration based around the grocery store checkout line. And so anyone who's taken any of my work, we always talk about this because it's a beautiful example of the steps of collaboration that we also use in our framework. And so I made this workshop and it became popular, and I tested it out a couple other places. And so the combination of the realization of how I've been coaching and this workshop really started bringing it together. And about 2022, it's like, oh, I also have a framework here. So it's time to do something with it.
I love that. I love that so much. There's so many things about your story that I love. I mean, a lot of it is you are so open to other people's perspectives and ideas and experiences. And then you take time to mentally digest the information and give yourself the mental space and respect to think through what you already know and what you yet need to know to move forward. And not just for yourself, but how to do good for the greater population of people.
Thank you, Laura. That's a beautiful way to say it. You're going to make me cry. I wasn't coming on Oprah.
Look under your seat. No, just kidding. I wish I could give you a car, but I can't.
Not yet.
Not yet. Not yet. Maybe some fuzzy slippers at some point or something.
Oh, that's cute. With your logo on it. I love it.
That would be fun. That'd be great. So, you have a really cool podcast yourself, right? Or you used to have a
Yes, it
podcast.
is
Yes.
called 20-minute collaborations. We haven't done any new episodes this year. My focus on growing the institute and capacity, I had to measure what my capacity was, and I thought, well, there's already 60 plus episodes out there. Not everyone has listened to them, and that's enough for now. But it's called 20-minute collaborations. It's got 3 seasons, and I bring on these extraordinary guests. They talk, they tell a story of collaboration in their field, or however, most of the better stories are the ones that have nothing to do with their field. Like one woman talked about making empanadas for her birthday. A guy talked about um, getting his car stuck in the snow and having to have people. So the guest tells a story, and then I ask questions to pull out the collaborative lessons that are
Yeah.
in these unintentional collaborations.
And do you think that, if we look back on that, how much easier are we having an easier time collaborating with people outside of the workplace? And that's why we have to learn so much more about how to collaborate in the workplace.
Well, we start every conversation with clients with what is collaboration, and we use that to mirror the fact that collaboration is built in us. We are a tribal being, like we are a tribal animal. Like we know how to collaborate. We do it
Yeah.
every day in everything. And you can use it, you can get as liberal with it as you want to by saying, I'm sitting on this chair and someone made this chair and a team of people, like we
Yeah.
can get as deep as we want to. But the thing is, we already know how. Now let's remind ourselves, go back to basics, pull in, and that's why a coach is so helpful, because you don't need to coach the entire time. If you can get a couple collaborations done right, that will bleed into everything else. But it's in us. And yes, it's
Yeah.
funny how in these unintentional collaborations in everyday life, we're doing it. We have a dinner party, we throw, if you've got kids, you have the pickup, we're doing it so
Carpool. Yeah.
often the that it's funny that it gets jumbled up when we call it collaboration and then have to do it for a reason when there's a purpose behind everything that I just explained.
So, with the current political climate and the tearing down of DEI initiatives and a lot of policies that seem anti collaboration, if we look, at least in the inclusive side of things, like, I mean, what can we learn from that? I mean, or are we learning that, okay, let's do what we can to create the collaborations with as much meaning and authenticity and positive change that we need, almost like doubling down on that because maybe there's some resistance to even our existence for a lot of us.
Okay, Laura.
Sorry, that's a big question.
um, this is we're gonna back it up for a moment. Okay.
Yeah,
Um, Before I get into your answer, I have to say we've got the five building blocks of collaboration:
yeah,
transformational leadership, facilitation, conflict resolution, friendliness to collaborate, and self awareness. These two right here, self awareness, we have to start. We have to do our work. We have to know who we are. We have to know what mechanics we're working with in this meat suit. And that goes from our brain to our abilities. Like it's so with that in mind, let's back up when we look at the political climate. Let's back it up a moment. In a collaboration, we all have to get behind the same objective. Yes, we have personal things that we're getting out of it. It's not all selfless. Like
right.
there are everyone gets something out of a collaboration. So let's look at before Biden dropped out. If we would have got real on the collaboration, the people that did not want Trump to be president, the it would have been the objective would have been don't get Trump elected. Instead of what the objective was, is Biden a good candidate? We felt the shift when Kamala then became the candidate because there was, I mean, remember the Democratic convention? Like that was the feeling of
Yeah,
one objective. We are going to win this. So, and that feeling needs to be found again. And with the current administration, it's hard to collaborate when we are getting thrown balls 3, 4 times a day, every day.
yeah,
And then on moments when we don't think we're on it, his administration's been really good at throwing things at us Friday afternoons when we're not expecting it and we don't always see it. So we to do this, we need to get behind, there's going to be things we can't attend to when we get behind one objective. And we have to deal with that. But the one objective, is whether it's getting him out of office or getting the people out of El Salvador or, making sure, making sure Medicaid is whatever that is, we have to get behind like and we have to have a win
mm-hmm.
and so
Mm-hmm.
that we can go to the other collaborations. The hardest part with clients we get into is how complex a collaboration can be. We forget
Yeah,
that there are multiple collaborations in our one collaboration. I hope that answered your question. I went
I
into a
think so. Yeah, and I think that makes sense that there's multiple collaborations going on. It's probably like a complex Venn diagram. There's, there's this part in the middle where this one collaboration is overlapping all these other ones.
completely. That's a great way to put it.
Yeah, interesting. And so now you've got this really cool cohort
Oh
coming
yeah,
up,
the 6 month
cohort
collaboration
program.
cohort you're going to be a part of. Uh, we last year we started it. We launched it and tried it out because I was like, what would happen if 10 people were with me for 6 months? They had my superpowers mixed with their superpowers for 6 months. What would happen? So we tried out, and it was a really big success. The participants from that cohort are still, I mean, I'm watching it still as they're having growth in their design and leadership and collaborations. So what it is it starts in June, and the first gathering. It's all virtual. The first gathering is we go through the collaborative intelligence assessment, and we
Mhm.
create our development plans for the next 6 months. And then there's some time off. There's a coaching session with me one on one, but until September, where we're observing collaborations. We're not doing anything, but we might read a text, but like it's just. And then in September, we do 2-hour sessions of the life cycle of collaboration, which is the collaborative framework, and then we close it off with a celebration, and another coaching time with me. But there's a lot of moments where I'm like, do you need me right now? And we'll get on a 15-minute call. So it's, again, they've got me for 6 months. And because the state of affairs are so, what's the best word? We don't know enough. There are, there's a word I'm looking for and I'm not finding it now.
Tumultuous?
Tumultuous, but also, just unknown. We'll just go with that.
Oh,
Uh,
yeah.
we made the 6-month collaboration cohort pay what you can. So if anyone is interested in that, check it out and then just send us a message, and we'll work something out, because I want people to have access to it. Funding and time and all those should not be barriers. I don't have time for that right now.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're seeing ripple effects of big positive change and other types of success because of your collaboration cohorts that who are basically teams that you've built and leaders that you've developed.
Completely. I've got a couple clients that have brought me in to do a version of the cohort with their team, and it's their outcomes and the outputs. If you were to do, um, oh my gosh, my brain right now. You're totally
Like a
getting me on this
snapshot, like if you did a
this
snapshot
Friday.
of
Um, Incomes and outputs. What is that bar?
profit and loss statement,
Nope. Anyway, I'll tell you in a little bit.
balance sheet.
No, it's a 4 column. My brain. It'll come to me later.
Obviously, I'm not coming up with it this Friday either.
Um. Anyway, but the outputs, the outcomes and the outputs, the last 2 columns are outcomes and outputs,
Mhm.
are there's so many things that they did not even anticipate that are coming out, because when we do the first steps in our collaborations, creating space, making sure everyone feels whole, making sure everyone has agency, making sure that they know what role that they were brought in to do and that
Yeah.
they are the leader there, making sure that we are anticipating conflict when it may come, making sure that there is a facilitator that's just facilitating and not in charge of anything else. So many beautiful things can come out of it.
That's fantastic. Oh my gosh, that just gives me goosebumps. The, like to imagine being one of your clients, realizing that surprise success, like the the unknown magic that is happening just because they decided to actually get back down, get inside, and figure out how to be really good intentional leaders and collaborators.
Right. And if there's ever a time to do it, it's now. And I mean, DEI is so important. And let's be honest, it's not going away, it's just
Mm-hmm.
being hidden,
Right.
because we have to be. Like, if we are not diverse and celebrating our diversity, we're not going to get as far as we can go.
Right.
So, but in lieu of, while it's being hidden and while we're still trying to work through it, there's an opportunity in intentional collaborating and taking the steps. And if not now, when? Like, to really create the impacts that we want to create. Because
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to get a little woo-woo, but the collective consciousness is raising. Like, it is like
Yeah.
this is hard right now, but I believe that this is going to a very beautiful spot where systems that we are so implicit in will no longer exist.
Yep. I use a lot of water metaphors, so forgive me for this, but I really think that we are stirring up some big, powerful tidal waves, and it can build up to these powerful storms that, like somebody sitting in Mar-a-Lago might not predict coming, and just be in their own little world and their little egocentric space and thinking that they're in control of stuff. But in the meantime, we're collecting, we're building up more support, we're getting more powerful as we work together. We're making each other stronger, and just becoming this big, powerful force that can just wash away the unnecessary barriers that are just eventually going to be powerless against us.
You just illuminated on what the objective is of this, of the big complex collaboration to change the administration, which is also changing the Democratic Party, which, I don't mean to get political because really I come from a place that everyone's at fault. We're not watching out for humans. But
Yep.
you just illuminated the objective. And the objective is to turn the tables and keep the administration so busy while we build the base, get as strong as we can, and do it. Turn the tables, make the administration super busy with frivolous stuff like they've been doing us. That's the objective.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And it might feel like a little ripple effect, like a little pebble tossed into a still pond and there's a little ripple effect, but then eventually maybe that turns into a little a river,
Right,
rushing
completely. I
into
mean,
the ocean and there's currents and then it can keep building, starting small and growing bigger.
completely.
I love it. So we were talking about DEI is not going away. It's just there's an attempt to hide it, or to devalue it.
Mhm.
Um, and as somebody told me a while ago, they're actually an HR person for Microsoft and they were in Tokyo at the time I was talking to them. And they said, you can't have inclusivity without diversity. And, equity, a lot of people just can't even understand fully and they won't acknowledge what that means because they're not even embracing diversity. It all has to start with diversity and we have to get cool with that. um how is that a significant ingredient in the recipe for collaboration? Sorry,
I'm
was that
trying
a
to,
difficult question?
no, not at all. I'm thinking about how I want to approach this. I want to first start with the equity piece. And people can't get their mind, they don't understand. You're
Yeah.
completely right. And that's because most of the time they're approaching it from a scarcity mindset because they think they're going to lose something when there is plenty for everyone. There's plenty of water, there's plenty of food, there's plenty of this made up thing we call money. There is plenty. So no one's, if done right, no one's going to lose everything. So we have to teach the lesson of equity. How we do that in our collaborations, and we'll never call it that, but because it's one collaboration at a time, is creating the space. And to do that using the 5 building blocks, we create trust, we create abundance and free form, we create you know autonomy and agency, and it's doing that so that each person is celebrated for what their role was to come in on the collaboration. And I know it gets messy when you get to a larger company when there's multiple collaborations going on at the same time, but there are
And
ways
egos
to do it.
sometimes, right? I think we have to turn off the ego to be a good collaborator as well, right?
Self-awareness. It's the first thing. It is, and then checking this friendliness to collaborate, which really is reverence. And I don't go there right away because a lot of people have that as such an association with religion, but it's reverence. It's being able to see your collaborative team for humans and that they have a gift, and the other things that happen in their life are not a part of this collaboration. There might be biases, and there might, however, we have to love them while doing the collaboration. When I go to the grocery store, I don't know with my cashier who they voted for, if they support gay rights, if I don't know any of this. I'm still going to treat them like a human while I'm getting through. So it's the same for our collaborations. And if we do that in that intentional work at the beginning with creating the space,
Yeah.
everyone's celebrated.
And we can
And if
even
you're
take that
and
a
if you're
step
served,
further.
sorry, I'll say this last
But
part. And if you're
yeah.
serving, not steering, you are being intentional about, if you're serving a group of people, you're being intentional to make sure that the collaborative team represents who you're serving.
Oh, I love that. That brings up so many things for me. Like, of course, back to water, like the kayak or canoe that you're in with everybody. Like, if you think you're the one that has to direct where the canoe goes, but you're not letting everybody else participate, you're probably not going to actually get to where you want to go. And if somebody's in the canoe who really, really does not want to be there, they're just like not going to be part of the collaboration at all, fighting against it even, or just literally deciding to just fall asleep on the project and not be a good team player. It's where the
Right.
canoe gets to get off to the side and they can get let off. And maybe there's somebody else that can come in, but it really does take a team. Like
Well,
everybody
think,
has to know where you're going and how you want to get there and own their part in it.
well, as you say that, I think about, I often see the rowers on, in Madison, we've got the two lakes. I often see the row teams. And the setup of what they have to do before they even get the boat into the water. And then once they're in the water, there's no one in the middle of it is getting out. And if one of them doesn't row in line, then they're not, their objective is to go as fast as possible. Like they have to, it has to be in sync, and they're all there for that role. And I think that is an important lesson that I don't bring up enough, is the, like, once you're in it, you're in it. When I used to work for the international nonprofit, we would do a huge project in Belize called Project Belize with PwC, that they did financial literacy with all the high schoolers
Oh,
in
wow.
Belize City. And I would be in one of the high school sites, and I'd get, 70 PwC volunteers, and the first thing I'd be like is, it's hot and the bus left. You're here. So there's no, like, this is what the circumstance is. You're here to find joy and to share your brilliance. No one's leaving, so, like, deal with it. And often, sometimes we just have to do that. We signed up for it, we got asked,
Yeah.
and there
Oh, I
will be
love
a
that.
good outcome. We have to, trust that the outcome will do us better for
And
anyway.
there's where the abundance mindset is just so important. And for some reason, a lot of us default to a scarcity mindset and are acting and reacting from a place of fear. Um, you know, of course, I also like to go back to Riane Eisler's comparison of chimpanzees and bonobo monkeys. Have you ever heard about that? The chimpanzees, I think, have aggression because they have a scarcity mindset. They're used to a harsh environment. It takes a lot of extra effort and competition to get food. And that's where some of that agro behavior comes from. But then the bonobos are living in this lush rainforest and have fruit at the ready and are all about love and peaceful resolution and food and just love. And it's like, gosh, if we could just somehow acknowledge, like you were saying, that we have plenty.
Right, but it's so ingrained in us, Laura. Like, this, you and I have talked about this. It is so ingrained in this. This movie popped into my head, and I don't know why. It's Far and Away. It's old. It's from the '90s. It's with Nicole Kidman and Tom
Oh,
Cruise.
yeah. Oh,
And I
yeah.
think it's Far and Away. And it's when they are Irish settlers that come to the U.S., and they find out how to get land, and it's like a race out in, like, I don't even remember where, because it's been so long that I've seen the movie, but they're in the Midwest, the West, and they're racing on horses to claim a plot of land. That scarcity mindset so far away, and that's also while there's a genocide going on and we're taking the land from the First Nations. So it's just, I mean,
Yeah.
it's deep.
Yeah. We're monkeys. We're total apes when it comes to this stuff, I think. But we can learn how to be more like the bonobos, I think.
Right. Did not think we were
Sorry.
going down this road on this episode.
I didn't know either. I'm sorry. Not sorry. I don't.
No reason to apologize. I'm enjoying it. And I imagine the listeners are as well. Leave a comment if you are.
So, yeah, we talked a little bit about, oh, well, there was a second part to that question about diversity and inclusivity as part of collaboration. So we did talk about like how, yeah, you need to have that self-awareness and everybody has to show up and there are going to be biases. Um, are you finding that in working with so many people, so many teams, that people actually are learning how to appreciate other people and recognize the gifts in other people despite their differences?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. You'll get, I can see often where there's playfulness
Hmm.
in it, and it's so much fun when the things come out in the open. Like one team recently, like we were in a seating and someone just screamed out confirmation bias, and everyone started laughing and they're like, yeah, that was. Um, the another team I was on, someone removed themselves from the team because when you speak to diversity, and we go back to the serving not steering and make sure we're serving, the collaborative team represents who we're serving. She said, this is not aligning. Like I will be here to support this, but someone needs to replace me on this. Like I can't be another white cisgender woman on this team. Like I'm seeing this, and if we can
Wow,
get out of the scarcity mindset, she knows that there's other opportunities for her.
interesting. Oh, wow. So, what do you do in a situation like that where somebody is feeling like they don't belong for one reason or another?
Well, we stop what's going on because the agenda is not that important, and then we talk about it, and like we ask, how are the feelings from everyone else from this, from this announcement? Does this have to happen right now? Can we have a transition? Like, what does this look like? What does this feel like? And then after everyone shares where they're at with that, and then we have with the core team, because most collaborative teams have the whole collaborative team and then there's a core team, and talking about like what is that, and sometimes it is what we did in that situation was we brought a new person onto the team to co-work for that because they were doing a needs assessment. She was doing a needs assessment, and so someone else came to work on the needs assessment with her because the team was very adamant about her skill set being necessary for that work.
Yeah, because I think, what this brings up for me is sometimes I have people approach me saying, you know what, I just love the content that you're building with your podcast and your newsletters and so forth. But I am not part of the queer community. Do I still belong? Like, and the second question is, how do I be a good ally? And I think that also is something that I think is so important. As much as we're talking about, we all need to work together. It doesn't mean just us queer people or just those who are in the alphabet gang, as my friend calls it. Like it's, I don't just love that. But we might have to, I don't know. I was talking about turning it into a club and we have like patches and jean jackets and stuff, but I don't know. We'll figure that out. But I think, it's important for people to understand that we need allies more than ever before. And it's not that we're saying just because you're cis or just because you're het or just because you're white means that you don't belong with us in our group, especially as we're approaching Pride Month. And there's going to be a lot of events about that. I think it's so important to welcome allies and to help them understand why we're welcoming them, how much we need them, and if they ask, how they can be, how they can feel that they belong, because allies belong too, don't you think?
Completely. I mean, that's part of the ecosystem. We are
Right.
all making this up. The first thing that I that comes to mind though when you say someone, a cisgender straight person comes up and says that, the first thing I say is, what is that mirroring?
Yeah.
What is happening? Because what I'm really hearing is, do I have enough to tell them? Am I going to being a good ally in the alphabet community so that I can give them some, because we have to start in our own backyard. We're not
Mm-hmm.
great advocates for each other often. I love cisgender gay white men, and there's some incredible men in our community here in Madison, and like in around the world that I know, and because I spend a lot of time in Cape Town. But there's also a large group that are not advocates for trans people, that are not advocates for lesbians, that are, that have a privilege that they get to stay out. So first, how are we being an advocate in our own community? And
Yep.
then second is an invitation to be an advocate. Yes, I invite you to be an advocate. There's
Mm-hmm.
no one way to say that, to say what
No.
that is, because, ultimately for me, I mean, it's speak up and get me to the table, and then once I'm at the table, shut up so I can talk.
Yeah.
That's,
Make
and then,
space
yeah.
and save space. Yeah. Yeah. I agree. A lot of what's been coming up in these podcasts is just allowing yourself to be brave enough to be authentic and to stand up for your values. So if you truly believe in supporting the marginalized communities, say so and do so. It's one thing to be a quiet advocate, and that's fine. But I think actions are going to speak even louder than thoughts and words when it comes to helping us get this tidal wave of change built up.
Say a little bit more about allowing yourself to be brave. I'm gonna pull something out in there.
Well, I think what I'm hearing from some people is everyone thinks I'm brave. I don't know why, but I can only guess. It's because I am so outspoken and I just am who I am and I'm pretty loud. And I just, when I show up, it's like you get a Muppet of a person, right? Like I'm
You
not
said it.
hiding
That's
very well.
brilliant.
Someone called me a Muppet in my earlier years, and I was like, oh, okay, I think I kind of get that.
Well, I love it.
But
I will
other
never
people
call
are
that, but
afraid, you know?
but I will embrace that. In the bravery and courage, though, let's dig into that a moment. I mean, your listeners are getting
Yeah,
somewhat of how it is to coach to work with me. Uh, to be brave and courage, what does it take to have bravery and courage? Like in your personal journey, in your self journey, not what everyone else sees and projects onto you, but what is
right.
that?
Um, I guess for me to like make the change that I need to happen, um, to overcome adversity, had a lot of that. Um, to and sometimes that means choosing a less luxurious path, you know, but a more authentic path of being who I am and just be to be out. Um, some people think that's pretty brave to just come right out and say, I came out as bisexual and a writer at the same time, and nobody was surprised. And now I'm like, I'm so pan. Like, it's not even bi. I just love everyone.
I love it. I mean, right? Um, well, in there, I'm also hearing, and tell me if I'm wrong. I'm hearing ego work, really checking the ego, the self awareness of like,
Hmm.
okay, like, like I'm not too good to not be this brave. Like because bravery is also humility. Like, okay, if I mess up, I'm gonna mess up. I'm also hearing detachment from expectations and outcomes, and I'm also hearing the ability to center yourself and find home here, because no one
Mhm.
else is going to give it to you, and find self-worth here, worth here, because it's not coming from anyone else. That work is to authentically be brave and courageous. I think that's what I'm hearing that you've been working on, and it's not a done journey. We're all working on it.
Oh yeah, constant, constant. Somebody was doing a Reiki massage on me, and it was supposed to take a half an hour to an hour. And 2 hours later, she was like, "Okay, think, I think we're done." And I, and it's just like, what? And this was in what I'm going to call my before times. Um, she said, what's coming up for me is a lot of dare to be brave. Like the words dare and brave keep coming up. And I just think there's this huge message for you to dare to be brave. Does that mean anything to you? It's like, did you have any visions or anything? And I'm like, I had a vision. It was so bright and very vivid, of this like mystical creature that had a lion head and a serpent body and wings. It was gold. The whole thing was golden yellow, bright golden yellow. And she's like, yellow is the color for identity. It took about a year after that before I'm like, hey,
Right,
life is too short to just not be who I am and just living my life instead of living a slow death. Or it's
right,
just, it wasn't even living, it was just like letting myself deflate into a slow, painful death. And existing is not enough. Like, we got to live our life.
right. And there's privilege that when we say that comes with it. However, in all the
Right.
communities I've worked with throughout the world, everyone's like most people. This is more of an American thing than like people. I just was in Kenya for 4 weeks in a tiny little remote village, working near the Maasai tribe, and they're living their lives fully. So getting to the realization of this is the one life that we have that we know of. I believe, dismissing everything else I believe in, but what we know
Yeah.
is this is one life, and we are working in the constructs of rules that were created from people that are long gone, and the rules were made up, and the rules can change. And so why not live big?
Yeah.
As in the space that you are in, live as big as you can.
I think that's where people get scared,
Mhm.
living big.
But this is the self-awareness work.
Right. Right. And then it's like, so what? I think that's the other good question, right? Like, so what? So you live big. So what? What happens? Like, what's the problem?
That's that's the whole purpose, right? Exactly. Like,
Right.
so I love the question, so what? Because is the simplicity, it's so simple. We're just here to live.
Yeah.
You
But
know,
just asking somebody, so what, could just make them break down and cry. I'm sure I've done it.
it's such a good question though.
It is. It is. So, what do you need, Greg? What do you need from the universe or from anybody watching this podcast?
I need people to look in the mirror of how they're collaborating. Look in what it means to them. What is the definition of collaboration? And sit with that. And how are you showing up? And just pick one collaboration. And it can be unintentional or intentional. It can, but just sit with that for a moment. And then if something comes up, go to the website, International Institute on Collaboration.com. There's the free collaboration intelligence assessment. Play around with it. Take that and check it out. Or just email me and say, how can we do something? Like, I'm building this big network, and right now, we like I said, we launched last January. We over 400 people in 10 different countries has taken the collaborative framework class, the life cycle collaboration. Over 250 people have taken the full assessment. We've worked with numerous companies and organizations and nonprofits. So yeah, it's just check and see if this is something that's going to support you.
Oh, I love that.
And if you're already hooked, go check out the 6 month collaborative cohort and sign up. We start on
Yes.
June 24th.
Yes. And then you can play with me too.
Right, exactly. And some pretty, yeah, I'm not quite sure everyone that's signed up, but if the people who are interested sign up, we're going to get a couple different countries. And yeah, it's
Oh, I'm excited about that. That's so great. I can't wait to see what's going to happen as a result of taking this.
right. The
I
unknown.
think it's
It's
going to
so
be amazing.
exciting.
And where else can people find you besides your website?
Well, my personal website is ggpotter.com for all my speaking and facilitation and collaboration coach stuff. And then at ggpotter is all my social media handles.
Okay, awesome. And
Because
is that
my
where
name
you
is
would
Greg
prefer
is
they reach
GG,
out?
so GG Potter.
I
What did
love
you
that.
say?
Oh, is that where you prefer that they reach out to you? Is it on social media?
Or
Like,
yeah, or my email address, but that
we'll
it's
put that in
Greg
the
at
links.
projectkinect.com.
Yeah, we'll
The
put that in the
old,
description.
yeah, the old events company that's still around, but
And what gratitude would you like to share today? Is there anybody that you think deserves waves of gratitude?
I'm grateful for my dear friend who went on a walk with me this morning. I believe something else was under there, and I hope that he was able to figure out, but I'm grateful for his time. I'm grateful for you, and I'm grateful for my close friend who gifted me 2 tickets to go see Jerry Seinfeld tonight.
You can see Jerry Seinfeld tonight? Oh, that's so cool.
So yeah, I'm very grateful for that, and I'm eternally grateful. I wake up with gratitude. I say it. I go to bed with gratitude statements. Like it is, I've lived a wild life, and this little trailer court kid from a tiny town of 300 in Wisconsin, the system was not built for me to live this life, and somehow, so I'm eternally grateful.
Oh, I love that. I'm grateful for you. I'm grateful for your heart and your wisdom. And I'm so grateful for everybody who decides to work with you
Thank you.
because that means they're already voting for themselves to make good change.
What a beautiful thing.
It's a beautiful thing. It can be a